The story begins in late 1997, in the deserted areas of Louisiana, USA, where police start discovering one dead body after another. These were corpses of young boys, hands and legs tied, lower body unclothed, and showing signs of extreme brutality. Immediate questions arose. Who was doing this to young boys? Why were they doing it? The police began their investigation to find the answers and to catch the monstrous culprit behind these crimes. But it took them 10 long years to finally reach the cunning and brutal predator. This cold-blooded killer was Ronald Joseph Dominique. So why was Ronald Dominique killing boys? Why did he commit so many murders? How did he manage to evade the police for so many years? And finally, how did the police manage to catch him? What is the current status of the case? Let's find out the full story. How an ordinary boy turned into a psychopathic killer. But before we begin the story, don't forget to subscribe to the English Crime Story channel and hit the bell icon. You may have already guessed. The villain of our story is Ronald Dominique. Dominique was born on January 9, 1964, in Thibodaux, Louisiana, USA. He was the youngest of 6 siblings. His parents were extremely poor and survived doing labor work to raise their children. Growing up in a difficult environment, Dominique completed his graduation in 1983. He then took admission at Nicholls State University for higher education and started studying computer science. However, he soon lost interest in studies and dropped out. One of the reasons for his lack of interest was his strange behavior. Since school days, Dominique was very different from the other kids. He often sat alone and rarely interacted with anyone. Additionally, from childhood, he suffered from obesity, and his weight kept increasing. Because of his weight and unusual behavior, his classmates started teasing him. He was also subjected to ragging. He neither participated in sports nor tried to make friends, which further made him a target of mockery. In this boring and isolated life, Dominique found solace at a gay hangout spot. But soon, some boys from his class saw him there. After that, they started mocking him by calling him gay in college too. He became a laughingstock across the campus. After that, Dominique quit his studies and started wasting time aimlessly. But as the saying goes, an empty mind is the devil's workshop. That's exactly what happened with Dominique. He had no good degree, no job, and no partner in life. This led him to become bitter, angry, and increasingly isolated. Around this time, on June 12, 1985, Dominique began randomly calling unknown numbers and saying obscene and vulgar things over the phone. The person on the other end, fed up with Dominique's behavior, eventually filed a police complaint. As a result of the complaint, Dominique was arrested and fined $5. After this incident, Dominique's brothers and sisters forced him to get a job, but he couldn't hold on to any job for long. Eventually, he started living with his sister and other relatives, drifting from one house to another. During this time, he was repeatedly in and out of jail for various reasons. Dominique committed his first major crime on August 25, 1996. According to reports, he was staying at his sister's house when suddenly a young man broke out of the house window, completely naked, and ran outside, screaming for help. He told the neighbors that Dominique had assaulted him and tried to kill him. The neighbors immediately informed the police, and Dominique was arrested. After a hearing in the lower court, Dominique was fined $100,000. However, Dominique appealed the decision in a higher court. Due to lack of evidence, the higher court acquitted him of the charges. After being acquitted in this case, Dominique began the series of murders that would continue for several years, while the police remained clueless. He committed his first murder in July 1997, targeting a 19-year-old African-American boy. The victim was David Mitchell. Dominique lured David in with sweet talk while David was on his way somewhere with his grandmother. 2 days later, David's body was found in a water-filled ditch beside a road. The autopsy report showed no signs of physical assault on the body. There was no trace of drugs or alcohol in his system either. Because of this, the police ruled the death as accidental drowning. However, David's father insisted that his son was an excellent swimmer and could not have drowned. Following this claim, the police decided not to close the case and continued their investigation. But despite their efforts, they found no trace of David's killer. Meanwhile, Dominique continued roaming freely. In December 1997, he lured a 20-year-old man into his trap by offering him drugs. He then kills the young man after luring him with drugs, just like before, and disposes of the body in a deserted area. The police find the body again, but the killer remains unidentified. Meanwhile, Dominique's reign of terror continues. In 1998, he kills 4 boys. In 1999, he takes the lives of 3 more. Then, in 2002, he murders a 20-year-old and a 26-year-old and disappears again. In 2003, the police discover the body of a 19-year-old boy. By now, the police understand the pattern and realize that Dominique is behind these murders. Similarly, in 2004, Dominique commits 2 more murders, and in 2005 he kills a record 7 victims, the highest in a year so far. Surprisingly, despite carrying out so many murders, Dominique remains beyond the police's reach. By this time, the police have understood that all these killings are the work of a single person. The media gave this anonymous killer the name the Bayou Strangler. Dominique was called the Bayou Strangler because most of the murders were committed around the Bayou area of Louisiana. Also, most of his victims were strangled or had their hands tied with ropes, which is why he was called a strangler. Though this unknown killer had been named, he remained free from police capture until 2005. Even in 2006, in October, he murdered Christopher Sutfield, a 27-year-old man, but the police failed to catch him. This was the 23rd murder in Dominique's killing spree. So far, Dominique left no clues at any crime scenes. However, in Christopher's case, some witnesses reported seeing Dominique with Christopher in a black SUV. This information was passed to the police, who learned that Christopher was last seen with a young man. But the police were unable to trace the vehicle or get any reliable description of Dominique's appearance. Because of this, Dominique again escaped police capture and began hunting his next victim. This time, in November 2006, his target was Ricky Wallace. Dominique befriended Ricky and lured him with promises of drugs and women. Both became close friends due to this lure. One day, Dominique invited Ricky to his house and gave him drugs. After a while, Dominique told Ricky that the girl they were going to have fun with was his girlfriend, and she wanted Dominique to tie Ricky's hands and feet because she enjoyed intimacy more when the partner was restrained. Ricky had heard some news about the bodies found in the area. He knew that most boys were murdered after having their hands and feet tied. He suspected Dominique might be behind these killings. Because of this, Ricky immediately refused to get tied up and managed to leave Dominique's house somehow. He then ran to the police and told them everything. At first, the police didn't believe Ricky because he was a heavy drug addict and had lied multiple times to the police before. But when Ricky kept repeating his story, the police eventually accepted his claims and called Dominique for questioning. During interrogation, Dominique claimed to be innocent and denied all accusations. Somehow, the police begin to suspect Dominique, but still, they allow him to leave custody. However, before letting him go, they request a blood sample from Dominique for some routine tests. In a hurry to leave, Dominique agrees and provides the blood sample right there before leaving. This blood sample becomes a crucial breakthrough for the police in the entire case. The police immediately send the sample to the lab for DNA testing. Until now, the police had recovered several bodies, and from some of these bodies they had also collected semen samples. Additionally, some other important evidence was found near certain bodies. Now the police decide to match Dominique's DNA sample with the semen samples collected from the bodies of the boys murdered over the past few years. Dominique's DNA perfectly matches the DNA found in the semen samples from the bodies. Despite this, the police do not rush to arrest Dominique immediately because they know he is very cunning, and if he even suspects something, he might disappear. Therefore, the police proceed cautiously and gather more crucial evidence related to Dominique. Based on all the evidence collected, an arrest warrant is issued. Finally, on December 1, 2006, Dominique is arrested from a homeless shelter. When arrested, Dominique says that he knew he would be caught soon, which is why he had left his sister's house and come to the homeless shelter, to ensure that his sister and family wouldn't get entangled in this mess. After the arrest, the interrogation begins. Initially, like many hardened criminals, Dominique denies all charges and refuses to confess. But after some time, he promises to cooperate with the investigation on one condition: that he receives assurance that he will not be sentenced to death by the court. After some time, the authorities accept Dominique's condition. Then, Dominique begins to reveal details of all 23 murders one by one to the police. He provides a detailed account of whom he killed, how, and why between 1997 and 2006. It became clear what kind of people Dominique was targeting. However, why he was killing people remained unclear to the police. They questioned Dominique extensively to understand his motive, but despite long questioning, no concrete motive emerged. Experts claim that Dominique was simply killing for his own pleasure. According to them, he was a psychopath who killed people for his own enjoyment. Moreover, he also got food and other necessities while in hiding. Based on Dominique's confession, charges were framed against Dominique, and the court proceedings began. Finally, on September 24, 2008, the court found Dominique guilty. After being convicted, he was sentenced to 8 life imprisonments. The court also made it clear that Dominique would never be granted parole under any circumstances. As for Dominique's current status, he is presently serving his sentence in a prison in Louisiana. One question that arises is, how was Dominique able to evade the police for such a long time? The biggest reason was that Dominique often targeted boys who were either badly addicted to drugs or were living under concealed identities. Often, drug addicts and runaways have no one to look after them or report their whereabouts. Because of this, Dominique chose such people as his victims, so there would be less noise and the cases would not reach the police. Most of the boys Dominique targeted were African American, who had very limited access to the police, and the police paid little attention to them. Therefore, these people became easy targets for Dominique, and he was able to commit crimes and escape. Overall, even though Dominique was able to deceive the police for about 10 years, he was eventually caught and is now serving his punishment. Because of the murders committed by Dominique, he is considered one of America's most notorious serial killers. Friends, Dominique is currently serving his punishment, but what do you think his sentence should have been? Be sure to let us know in the comment box. If you liked our effort, please like and share this video. If you haven't subscribed to the English Crime Story channel yet, then quickly subscribe and press the bell icon. Stay connected with us for more such stories from the world of crime. Thank you.